Rise and shine, Googans. Go time on a Monday morning. The Monday morning quarterback in victory formation. Admit it. If you have a fear of heights, you were awfully squeamish yesterday morning, weren't you? Man, it feels like we tiptoed right to the edge. And we just looked into the abyss. We were about to fall into the abyss, man. I thought we were about to have a Black Monday. I was wondering if Doug Peterson was going to have a job today. When they fell in that 10-0 hole, and listen, the evidence is what my eyes showed me were wrong. I mean, that's what the evidence is and what the guys were able to say in the pregame because they bounced back and won convincingly apparently was the case. Appearances can be deceiving. But, man, the facial expressions and the body language when they were down 10-0, when New England and rookie quarterback was converting third downs, particularly on that defense, which is can get a little shell-shocked with what's happened the past few weeks. I didn't like the look of it. I didn't. It was 10-0 and going the wrong way. And show of hands who thought, my gosh, we're about to lose to the Patriots. E.T., my brother, good morning.
Shop, I say.
Where you at?
Oh, man, I definitely thought we was going to catch that L.
Did we not just tiptoe right up to the edge? And look, you better not have a fear of heights, man. Or are you going to be nervous? You got those butterflies in your stomach looking over that cliff we looked over yesterday.
Yeah, them boys are starting slow.
So, listen, that's why today when we hear from the locker room sound, and I got plenty to share with you, when they say things like, yeah, there's no quit, and yeah, this locker room still believes, and yeah, that coach is still our coach, well, it carries little value because despite that lean, hey, man, hold on my belt loop. Let me lean out over that cliff a little bit. They step back, okay? So there's take one from what I saw yesterday, what I take from yesterday's game. Man, it sure feels like we were about to fall just into that spinning nebulous of the Twilight Zone, right? You know the one? Arms and legs all spread out. Face up to the sky. Help me. So there is take one. Take two is this, and I don't know what this win's going to mean. That's a terrible football team. We came back 2-5. We've got a really tough stretch of football here in the next 4 or 5 games, right? We've detailed that. This season will ultimately, well, if it doesn't go right these next 4, the season was defined by the early season opportunities they let get away. They weren't ready to start the football season. They just weren't. They weren't in any kind of sync. That's changing on the offensive side of the ball, right? You also take that away yesterday, E?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the last 2 or 3 games, the offensive line has performed better.
Definitely.
Trevor haven't been perfect. They've had drops, particularly in the Chicago game. But they've won 2 of the last 3 because in large, and by the way, coulda, shoulda, at Houston, really because the offensive line has played better and they had, at one point they scored on 5 straight possessions or 4 straight and then maybe went forward on a 4th. I don't remember the exact timing of it. But once they got rolling, this is how you know an offense is rolling, all right? When an NFL team runs the ball 19 straight times, that's about as dominant. We won't have breakfast with Pacelli today. He's all transatlantic overnight, so he'll join us tomorrow for breakfast with Pacelli. We will have Fred today. I'm sure he can give you that running. I can remember some games, especially in Fred's senior year at Florida, where I wonder how many times in a row he ran the football. Mark that down, E, because I'll forget, because I'm a dodo that way. I wonder what the most consecutive carries Fred's had in. Now, they weren't all for Tank yesterday, mix in, a play here or there, but 19 straight runs. That's how dominant that line was beginning to play. That was losing Cam Robinson early, so Walker Little seems like he had a pretty spotless game out there at left tackle. But the reason I say this is this. If they're going to get through this stretch, it feels like we're gonna have to go circa 22, right? We're going to have to win some. If we're going to win more than we lose of this next stretch, we're going to have to win games 38-31. We are. We're going to have to win games 40-34 in overtime. In other words, the offense is going to have to carry this football team for a stretch. They seem closer to being onto the top half versus the league than the defense does because it still feels like it's way on down there. And without the offense taking over 10-0 and getting that important touchdown and then ultimately getting on a roll, we would have fallen over that cliff that we just peeked over it. All right, listen, I got another, this one's pretty easy to see. Pretty easy to see what the Jaguars now I think can say they have and feel like they'll get out of Tank Bigsby. That young man is running with purpose and tremendous vision. I mean, he seems like he hits holes. He gets going. It's clear that rookie haze that you can fall into, trying to take that step up next to the biggest of big boy stages. He looks comfy out there, man. And I bet you his game is improving all the way around. That includes pass protection. And Bigsby's emergence made the Jaguars offense yesterday not miss Travis Etienne a bit. There are not many scenarios when this season started that I would have thought I could have said that. I could have thought that Etienne would have missed games. I wouldn't have thought that, after one of those missed games, we could say wasn't missed at all, which perhaps has other implications we shall see. But, yeah, Tank Bigsby stepping up, certainly a big takeaway from yesterday. Brian Thomas Jr.'s emergence continues. There's nothing that does a fan more good than a long-range hookup, is there? When your quarterback unleashes his 150 in the air and it hits receivers in stride and big plays are made, it's just like that's like the holy grail of a Sunday. You love seeing it, and Brian Thomas Jr. just continue, and you can see they're just wrinkling him into the playbook a little bit more. Felt like he was a little bit more involved in the short passing game yesterday. They tried to run a reverse with him. Did get deep, and another good, more than solid day, had a touchdown. And the two-pointer, no? Yeah, the two-pointer too,
He did.
Yeah. So really just continues to emerge as a weapon. And listen, Tank's emergence and consistency now. Same thing with Brian Thomas Jr., Evan Ingram back in the offense. And don't get me wrong. Yeah, we didn't miss Etienne yesterday. Boy, the prospects of having two of those dudes at full capacity, ready to break one at any time, ready to have a game-changing play at any time, feeds into this narrative with games coming up against Green Bay and at Philly on a Sunday night, Minnesota, and what is Detroit, and the Houston Texans. Ooh. Green Bay, Philly, Minnesota, Detroit, Houston. There you go. If the only way you get through that five, and really we're so far behind the eight ball, whatever, with more wins than losses, let's just put it that way. The only way you're successful through that, I think, when it comes to wins and losses, is we got to see this offense do what we saw them do at that tail stretch of 22, at least for a while, right? The offensive production, particularly at the end of games against Dallas, Baltimore, and the second half from the end of the second quarter on in the playoff game. Not that they were perfect down the stretch, but these 5 games, I don't feel like the defense is anywhere near ready to stifle anyone. Do you?
Nah,
right?
Not at all.
I don't feel like the defense is going to get a key stop that we need. I feel like the offense better put us up 2 scores, or the defense is going to break our skull.
Which is backwards for real, because normally the defense is ahead of schedule.
Yeah, and it's just not. It is not translated. And look, they're getting awfully close to full strength now. Tyson Campbell, you could argue they made more plays yesterday than they have made, even though a ton were made. And, man, I've seen better hands on Pop Warner secondary.
Bro, them boys dropping picks.
Campbell dropped one, and Cisco's. Oh. So it could have been even worse. But, back to the point, Green Bay's coming to town next week. I don't see the Jaguars winning one 16-10. They don't have to score. It's going to be on the offense. It's going to be on Trevor to continue on this nice run that they've gotten on. At least from a consistency, standpoint. Not totally. Look, we're coming off a week where, I remember, it was a week ago we couldn't catch a cold, right? But it feels like there's some momentum going toward that offensive side of the ball. They're certainly going to need it. And then one last takeaway. Trayvon Walker's playing really good football. It's not just the sacks. So what did he get? His 6th sack yesterday, maybe?
He tied for 3rd in the league, I want to say.
Is he? Yeah, he got his 6th sack yesterday, but you know what else? He's around the quarterback. I bet you he already has more pressures this year than he had all last year. I don't know the stats. I'm not looking at him. I'm just going by the eye test. I'm just going by what I'm seeing on Sundays. And it feels like Trayvon Walker has been a bigger presence in the offensive backfield than Josh Hines-Allen now that we're 7 games in. That's what it feels like to me. Now, again, not in the film room. Does it feel like that to you, E? I feel all basic.
Absolutely.
It does, right?
Yeah.
Now, here's a guy that got all the money, and he's a leader, but we got to see that man start making some plays too. If Josh Hines, who thought you'd say this? We got bizarro world going on where Bigsby is outplaying ETN and Trayvon Walker is outplaying Josh Hines Allen. So, Trayvon's emergence, and again, I'll look it up in the break, but I bet you he may have had more pressures in one of those games. That game that he had the 3 sacks, he had like 6-7 pressures that game. He had more of that game than he has all year. So his emergence is golly, thank goodness. It doesn't feel like anybody else is doing anything on the defensive side of the ball. Mason Smith, a second-round pick, a healthy scratch, 42nd pick in the draft, at a position that they traded away this week. I don't know about y'all, but I kind of thought trading away Roy Robertson Harrison was opening up a path for, I don't know, say a second-round draft pick. Apparently not short-term at least. All right, we got a lot more to get to in here on this Monday morning. It'll be
Hey, Mia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.